Why not? Yeah.
Well, congratulations everyone to making it actually to the end. And I'm really grateful that you've all now got a drink in hand, so I don't have to be the one keeping you between the bar. So, yes, welcome. So I think Russ and Matt hardly need an introduction in terms of, the organisations have been referenced many times today. Probably a lot of you are thinking, who is she? Which is fair. So my name's Lisa, I'm brand director at Let's Do This, and as part of my kind of job as host, I'm always through this very quickly, but I took it very seriously, and I wanted to share a few stats that everyone's heard of Parkrun and RunThrough, as we've kind of established. However, there are a few stats that I wanted to share in terms of the scale and impact of these organisations. So RunThrough, we'll start with you, Matt. 270 events annually across the globe. Now in Long Beach as well, which is really exciting. And good pioneered the kind of using iconic locations as part of the events, and also giving back to the community, which, as we've heard today, is so important through the RunThrough Foundation. So, round of applause. And moving on to Russ and Parkrun. So this was fun. Doing a bit of Google and ChatGPT on this, but 6 million people across a Parkrun finish line across the world, which is insane. Over 400,000 people had previously said that they were completely inactive before doing Parkrun, so it kind of shows the impact that Parkrun is having, I guess, on the health of the entire nation/world. And the random fun fact of the day, I guess, is that when you do Google Parkrun tattoo, not just 1 or 10 images, but hundreds actually come up. And I don't know if that is not the pinnacle of brand loyalty. I really don't know what is.
I won't tell you mine.
That was my next question. So without further ado, so thank you so much both for coming and chatting about the art of loyalty. And I think with a lot of this, as we talk about the future, sometimes it's helpful, especially with organisations that are iconic as yours, just to reflect a bit on the past. And so I'd like to start with you, Matt.
Yep.
Take your mind back to the early days of RunThrough, and I'm really curious to know, when was the moment that you were like, I actually might be onto something, things are actually going pretty well?
I think right now, to be fair to you.
Yes.
This is it.
I'm really glad that...
No, realistically, I think because of the way we act and the way we do things, and I don't think I'll ever feel like that. But in terms of how we started, a lot of the stories that we heard, Chris from Reese Leisure, that was hilarious, his story, and Charlie as well, and his story, and how he was explaining how he started his thing. So all that stuff is what we did at the start. Yeah. All the bananas, the flapjacks, the race numbers were in my Peugeot 206. That was also the storage unit, and we drove it back and forth to events. And I think myself and Ben, my business partner, we both elite athletes when we were younger, met at Loughborough University, became good friends. And when we started RunThrough, it was, I think, first year, 6, 7 events. And then I think when we hit 2017, I think we were on about 90 to 100 events. And we are at every single event. So it's not just turn up and people turn up as well. We're closing roads, we're storage units, we've got unloading vans, driving vans, packing the vans with everything you could possibly think of. Now we don't do that. We've got weight limits on vans, apparently. That's the thing. You live and learn. Yeah. You live and learn when you get a few points in your license. So, yeah. But all that stuff was just relentless drive to just increase participation. And I think we were at a point in time in 2013 when we first started. It was running clubs historically run by volunteers that had elite ends, and it wasn't really anything to do with community-based events in the middle. And there was RunThrough Crew. I used to live in London, well, I still live in London, and I used to go to RunThrough Crew, go to those events, and I just thought, this is a real sweet spot where we can organise a community running event for people. And we did that in all these different parks in London to start with. And that grew year on year on year. Yeah. And before you know it, I think the first big event and that moment for me, probably and Ben, was when we took on Hampton Court Palace, which is an iconic location. It's a royal palace, and I think we walked out of the meeting, we're like, well, how are they letting us do this? But now, almost 10 years in with it, great relationship with them. We do other events at other royal palaces. Our teams are integrated. It's a completely different beast to what it was when we first started. And when I look at the team in the offices and I see there's 50 RunThrough full-time staff members, plus 50 more staff members work across media, marketing, chip timing, and support event suppliers for other events and that sort of stuff. So it's a real beast now, and it's quite it's quite interesting.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's amazing in terms of the growth from, back in your Peugeot days all the way to now. Nothing wrong with the Peugeot.
No, it's good.
Don't say that.
I meant more because it was like, beaten to pieces.
Yeah.
What do you drive now?
I drive a Ford Ranger. a pickup truck, It's so important, a pickup truck for events. It's
Like
really
top
useful.
tip, guys.
Yeah.
Russ, I would be interested to hear if you had like a similar kind of, moment, or was it just a kind of, reflection moment that you had as well?
I don't know. Do you think it's going to catch on?
After 6 million people, yes, I think it's actually a thing.
I think we sometimes get a little bit blinded by stats. I think, was it Paul was saying earlier, like, actually, what happens is week after week after week we deliver events, and it's only when you take a step back after a period of time do you go, actually, geez, this thing has grown, and it's almost taken you by surprise. But there's just a few moments. I was lucky enough to join, my first participation with Parkrun was 13 years ago as a runner, as a participant. Then I got involved setting up an event a year after that, and at that point I think we had about 100 events around the world. But even then I thought, this is massive. I'm joining this huge community, and of course that back then it was as big as it had been at that point, if that makes sense. See my logic? Yeah. So it was like, well, this is big. We're in multiple countries, it's going places, I'm joining this big community. But you've kind of got to pinch yourself. Like now it's 2,500 events every week. And then these big numbers come at you, and I think in the next couple of weeks, a 5K finish line will have been crossed for the 100 millionth time.
Wow.
Over 20 years.
A lot of zeros.
So, and that's, so incomprehensible. Like, I can't even really picture 100 million, people. So it's like, that's mad. But then there's other moments like, we've just had our 20th anniversary. That was quite a big media moment for us, particularly in the UK. Yeah. So there's, national TV, national press, all of that stuff. A couple of weeks before that, it was Bushy Park, where it all started. It was their 1,000th event. So that would have been a little bit sooner had COVID not got in the way. And 6,500 people turned up just at that event, which is easily the biggest parkrun we've ever had anywhere. And in fact, I was going to message Hugh because there was a moment that morning where I thought that was going to be more people than finished the very first London Marathon. But we missed it by about 60 people or something like that. I'm now regretting the decision not to go there. But I don't know, it's one of those things, in some ways it's imperceptible, you can't really see the change, you can't really see the growth because we're so close to it, can't see the wood from the trees. And then at other times, you just get these big statistics and numbers that are kind of shocking, but incomprehensible.
I think going back to kind of, the art of loyalty around this discussion, like, what do you think it is that gets people to come back week after week?
Well, I guess the regularity of it for us is a big thing. So same time, same place, every week, like regardless. So that's a big thing. And I think people, because of that, people know it's always going to be there. So actually, we don't really have the pressure of, and also because it's free, right? So there's no kind of pressure of, if I miss that one, I'm going to have to wait a year till the next time. Like if it doesn't work for whatever reason, family commitments, job, something else, it doesn't matter because it's going to be there the week after that. It's going to be the week after that. From an event perspective, I think it's what we've landed on is it's key that we empower communities. One, to deliver the event for themselves and for their local community, but that we let communities be communities. Like Parkrun is instantly recognisable, I think, wherever you do it, in any of those 2,500 locations around the world, but it's also subtly different. It should be reflective of that community, and we want that. So as much as there's a central organisation, a charity at the heart of it that tries to hold on to this runaway train, we also want communities to be reflective of their communities. And so that, if there are subtle differences between each event, that's a good thing. I think it's those kind of soft elements, perhaps, that help people come back.
And Matt, I guess the same question to you.
Yeah, we see ourselves probably in between your free 5K parkrun and your London Marathon, your Great North Run. That's kind of how we see we're in the middle. And there are examples of it, like Chris for the Southampton race, and other examples like the Chester Marathon, which we recently just taken over with 7,000, 8,000 participants in a marathon distance. It's a different beast when you're doing that, but what we offer is like consistency. We're there. If you want to enter a race, we have an event. I think on Sunday, we had like 5 events in one day. And we're talking teams who are operationally delivering from our hubs. So they're loading vans and bringing product for sponsors and all that sort of stuff from one location, from different locations. And to make that work is difficult logistically, but also like the fact that we do it and we put effort into it means that I think people know that on a weekend if they want to do a 10K or a half marathon, they've got us there, and we want to always be there for them.
And in terms of, we heard earlier around like the importance of like partnerships, but long-term partnerships. Are there any in particular that you feel have been really helpful in terms of your growth and kind of, you know?
Sam wants me to say, let's do this.
Do the right thing. Okay, aside from that, do it yourself.
No, yeah, obviously those guys started like 2017, 2018, so it's slightly different from when we first started. But I think the venues are important to us, because they're the people that allow us to do these amazing events. Like we do an event at Alton Towers theme park, and there's 10,000 people across 2 days. Like people come, including your ticket, you get to go on all the rides for the whole day. Like it's cool.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's like a ride, I don't know. Yeah. And we have like Thorpe Park, which is near to here, Colchester Zoo. You get to visit the zoo, go on the rides. Like that stuff's fun, and I think those are our important key partnerships as we go. And as we get bigger, sponsorships are important to us. So we have great partners like Brooks, Sports Shoes, loads of people who are coming on board with us over the last like 2 years. And I think that ongoing will become increasingly more important to us.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting as a marketeer, like, you know, you look at the kind of change in the way that we kind of are trying to reach people, the kind of, you know, the proliferation of channels, you know, different types of, you know, ambassadors, affiliate marketing. Like, what are the kind of ways that you've changed how you kind of reach your audience and kind of stay relevant? I'm really interested to hear.
Yeah, so I think really the answer to that is just starting more events in more communities. And I think we're lucky that we've got the demand, so people want to do that. And it's the challenge for us actually is being able to respond to that demand. I was out in the States last week, and we've got one employee. He looks after all of North America for us. A little bit ridiculous. And he's had... he was telling me that was ridiculous. But he's had 350 inquiries for new events across the US just this year. And it's like we can't manage all of that with the resources that we've got. But the answer is, we kind of think about, there's no reason why any community in the world shouldn't have a park run. Like, we want to be everywhere. That's our ultimate ambition. We want to make sure that people have access to free weekly physical activity. Like, that's fundamentally why we're here. It's why we exist. Getting there is the challenge. But the way that we can reach more people is making sure that we've got an event near to them, because it's a free 5K. It's all about community, local community. Some people do it for different reasons, and will, you know, parkrun tourism is a thing as much as tattoos is a thing. So you'll see things like our Amsterdam event in the Boss last weekend at Amsterdam Marathon. So the day before, huge increase in the numbers at our event because of what's going on there in Amsterdam. So we need to grow, we need to expand, we need to have more events in more places, and then we let those communities reach through social channels and email, you know, the community that they represent and serve. There's a bit that we do centrally, which is around how can we shape our communications to help encourage people to participate that might not otherwise think that parkrun's for them. We do see that parkrun is the kind of the gateway to physical activity, or one of the gateways to physical activity. And like the stat that you had up before, we've got this the right way around, look.
Like we planned
That's
it.
helpful. Is really encouraging. One of the other things that we look at is the average finish time. We like to see that gets slower every single year. So in 2004, when Parkrun started, the average finish time was about 22 minutes. Kind of reflected the running club culture that it came from, but now it's about 33, 34 minutes, and every single year it's got slightly slower. And we see that's one of our big KPIs. That's success. If that continues to get slower, that means we're reaching more people that wouldn't otherwise have participated. But there's just so much more that we can do. Here in the UK, where Parkrun, it was born in a leafy southwest London, affluent, white middle-class suburb, and has grown through word of mouth, largely. And word of mouth stops just where you need it the most. So we're still not representative of even the running community, let alone the population. So there's a lot more that we can do. It's about starting new events, but it's also about shaping our communication so that we can reach new audiences.
Yeah, definitely.
I suppose we've got slightly different demands in terms of the way we can scale our events. We have pressures in terms of our venues. We're paying high costs to rent those venues out. We need minimum numbers to put those events on. So we couldn't do an event with 50 people, 60 people. We just lose thousands and thousands of pounds. So we know our limit for each venue before we take it on. So the way we grow is the same way that most other events grow, with like social media marketing, like traditional marketing methods, community-based activity. And the thing we found in RunThrough on initially it was all in London. So we went to the parks and we spoke to the running clubs around the parks and we encouraged them to come to the events. And the time that the crew scene was kind of growing and we're trying to bring those people into the events, and met loads of amazing people and good friends through doing it. But now the challenge is as we scale, and it's not just myself and a small team. Lucy over there, she was part of the small team when we first started. I think Lucy did 110 events in a year, I think once, something like that. So yeah, it's pretty intense, yeah. And I think she's a longer standing staff member at this point in time. Because everyone leaves after a year because it's so hard. No, like, they don't, like, no, yeah. We're learning, and like 110 events was ridiculous, and now it's more like 30, 40, 50 events a year, which still sounds a lot, but yeah, that's our kind of method of attracting new people. It's still the same things that we started off with. Yeah. And yeah, if we can keep doing that and scale that and hire amazing people to do those things, that's the next challenge of RunThrough. Hiring amazing people to take my job, to do other jobs within the company and make it better than it is now, and that's what we want to do. Yeah.
Amazing. I'd be interested to hear, like, where do you look for inspiration in terms of, like, you know, the next Hampton Court Palace or the next, you know, whatever. Yeah, do you look across other industries, or like what do you do with your team to kind of, Yeah, I suppose, I think my background, I did a lot of different things in different businesses, but one of the things was nightclubs. I used to run nightclubs, and everyone came to Mez Club in Leeds at any point. I ran Wednesdays there, yeah. So I did all these different things to try and, so my mindset was always, we're competing against the night out, essentially. And some of the stuff that Charlie mentioned before and the way he's built what he's doing there is reflective of what I thought at the time. I just didn't do the thing that he's amazingly done. So yeah, I think when we wanted to, yeah, that's probably the challenge. We're competing against the people in the night, we're competing against Netflix, we're competing against everything. So inspiration is how to get people fit, healthy, active, running. That's what I was born to do. In terms of my father loved running, my family, he was involved in the club scene growing up. So every week I used to go to the running club. He was chairman of the running club, and I was involved in all that stuff, so it was built in me. Yeah. And Ben, my business partner as well, the exact same situation. So we love running. We want to get people running around the world, and yeah, that's what we do. Amazing.
And Russ, what about you?
Yeah, similar thing. Not the elite athlete background. I can't claim to have that. I don't know, in some ways, because I arrived at Parkrun like partway through its history, so like I'm not the founder. Paul's got that accolade. And in some ways I feel like I'm standing on the shoulders of giants. Like I get inspiration from anywhere. Like this room today has been, it's like such an honour to be here and hear the stories from everyone and all the incredible work that's going on across the sector. I don't think it's necessarily just in running. My background before this job was sports marketing, brand, communications, so working across different sports. So like inspiration can come from anywhere at any time, and then also the communities that we operate in and deliver events for us and on our behalf. Like we're constantly getting new ideas. You know, can we try this? Can we try that? I'm inspired by some of the ways that communities are reaching out and encouraging more people to participate. But one of the key things is making sure that as much as we want to innovate and grow and change, we need to keep the main thing, and make sure that that event experience on a Saturday morning just stays the same, so that one, it's replicable and looks the same as it is everywhere else on that weekend, but it's also really familiar with that first event back in 2004. And I think if we can do those two things, we've heard about it quite a lot today, if we can stay loyal to our roots but also grow and innovate, then we're doing a good thing.
I'd like to add to that, like, we're inspired by the communities as well, and Russ and I had a conversation around an event in Southport recently, and the riots that happened there. We had an event on that Sunday just after the race, and you had an event on Saturday at Parkrun. Yeah. So to make a decision to put that event on, is that good to do for the town or not? And those communications, we needed to know that the community were up for it, and the Parkrun guys were going ahead with it, and they're the people that are on the ground. They love running, so we were like, okay, we'll go ahead as well. And the overwhelming feedback was like that was the right thing to do. Some of the kids' fathers were there and running the event, and I think we're inspired by the communities that we have these events, and if we ignore that and forget about that, we are nothing.
And
looking at timing. And in terms of, I guess, looking forward as kind of a final kind of closing remarks, like, what's next for you guys in terms of obviously tackling the States but how I'm interested to see how you're going to balance as well, like your loyalty and kind of bringing your fans along with you, as well as kind of reaching new audiences as well.
I think we said before, like, can you guys tell us what to do?
I know
No, it's one of those things.
2025.
2025, yeah. No, I think expanding into different countries is a hard thing. We organised the Doha Marathon in Qatar this year, and we were brought in to try to secure the event, make it safe, increase participation and that sort of stuff. And we did that, it's been successful. And that's kind of inspired us to think we can do things abroad. So the events we have in Europe, trail races, like 5-6 trail races we have booked in next year, Morzine, Girona, like really cool, like epic 100k trail events, which would be fantastic. And then the US, we've got 5 or 6 planned for next year. I don't know how that's going to go yet. And the only way I know is to copy the model we did here and find people to replace the work I'm not going to be able to do here to be able to do that stuff as well. And I think that's the next challenge for me in a room like this when we've got great people looking for jobs in the sport and in the industry. That's what I want to make a message, say, come join us. Not from Let's Do This team, obviously. You guys.
And Russ, I guess, what's next for Parkrun in terms of the next few years?
Yeah, like more of the same. So we're adding sort of 5 or 6 new events every week at the moment, somewhere in the world. Like I said, we've got that ambition to be in every community. It sounds ridiculous, and bold, but that's what we want to do. I don't want to end on a downer, so I'll get this in now. But I think one of the really worrying things is that we don't see much of a improvement in global health over the next few years, which is a really sad thing to reflect on, but it's true, unfortunately, and the pandemic's definitely exacerbated that cost of living crisis as well. So, but from our perspective, that means there's more need, there's more opportunity for parkrun and events. Like, all of us are involved in events that improve health and happiness, right? Movement is medicine. So the more that we can grow the sector, the more that we can grow to help people find an opportunity to be physically active, then the better.
Great. Well, thank you so much, both of you. I really, really appreciate it. And yeah, so everyone join in and say thank you.